Hello, beautiful friends. I am Bleadon-Maffei with Illuminating Souls, welcoming you to this episode of Sleepy Bedtime Blessings, a podcast designed to help you rest, relax, and fall asleep, all while deepening in your connection with your beautiful team of angels who love you so. You know, it always makes me so happy to say that, to remind you that you have a team of angels who are with you and who are rooting you on or cheering you on. And if we're just meeting, I am an angelic practitioner, a spiritual teacher, and an encourager of souls, and it is my blessing and honor to help you remember who you are as a divine being in human form, to help you reconnect and remember your gifts and your abilities, and help you know that you are a blessing in this world. And if you're wondering what an angelic practitioner does, I offer one-on-one angel sessions, which are lovely. We meet over the phone, and a session is an hour long. And we have heartfelt conversation, and I bring forward angel messages for you. And my hope is always to help you connect with your divine guidance. I also offer a longer form of support called soul mentoring, where we meet each week, and it allows us to connect and support you as you move forward on a time of growth or transition in your life. And then I offer a variety of classes designed to inspire your spirit. And I have a new class starting almost every 6 weeks. The classes are small in size, so you will absolutely get to be loved up and supported. And you can learn more about all of my offerings at my website, illuminatingSouls.com, where you can also sign up for my mailing list, and then you will be in the know. But for now, the angels and I are here to bring to you comforting, soothing, light-filled energy to help you come into a sweet space of rest. Or if you're listening during the daytime, during your waking hours, we are here to be companions in whatever you are doing right now. And I originally designed this podcast as a sleep podcast because I listen to a sleep podcast every night. I'm re-listening to some of my old episodes, the ones specifically about Marshall Field's, which was a department store in Chicago when I was growing up. And I can't stay awake through them. So if you're looking for other episodes of this podcast to listen to, may I recommend going into the archive and listening to the Marshall Fields episodes. They are both interesting and boring enough that they put me to sleep every time, and perhaps they will for you as well. This is actually the 140th episode of the podcast, so there are many, many episodes in the archive to listen to. And if you are enjoying the podcast, I would appreciate it so much if you would consider leaving a review or a rating on the Apple Podcast app or wherever you listen. And also, I would love to hear from you. I love hearing how the podcast works for you, if you're enjoying it, what some of your favorite episodes are. I treasure you, and I appreciate the opportunity to spend this time together. So I'd love to hear from you. But for now, my beautiful friend, I invite you to take some nice deep breaths in and out, just allowing the love of the angels to meet you where you are. And I'm going to take a nice breath with you. So it's early morning here as I'm recording it. We recently had the time change here on the West Coast. So what that means is it's dark right now, but at some point during the next hour as I record this episode, the sun is going to come up, and with the sun will come the songbirds or the screeching birds or whatever birds decide to add their voices to this moment of greeting the morning. So if you hear birds at some point, just know that it's a little ambient noise for your listening pleasure, and for some reason, the traffic seems a little bit louder today than normal. We're about a mile from the freeway, and depending on the atmosphere, depends how much the noise travels here. So I am doing my best in the blanket fort to mute these sounds so you will not be disturbed. But if you hear any of them, just let it go. Everything's good. The energy is calm here right now. It feels pure, which feels like such an odd word for this moment, but there is a purity of light present as I record this for you. And one of the things that I am reminded is that the angels always know what we're going through. Not in an intrusive way, but it gives them this ability to always meet us where we are. And this beautiful purity of energy that I am feeling, I sense it is coming forward to help us recalibrate, to reset and reconnect, all those beautiful words, and reconnect with the light. This light is so beautiful and it knows what is needed. So I invite you to simply receive the beautiful divine light that is flowing through for you right now. And I'm going to call the angels in to be with us. They're already here, but I love sharing this ritual with you. So beautiful angels on high, I invite you to join us here. I invite you to infuse this broadcast with waves of love and service to our beloveds who are listening to this message. I ask that you bring forward blessings of ease. May each of us experience greater ease in whatever endeavors we are dancing with in this moment. And angels, I ask that you bring sparks of inspiration to each one of us to help illuminate our path, to help us step into a greater sense of engagement in the best way possible in the stream of life, helping us find our people, helping us express in a meaningful way our mission and purpose, to help us know that we are enough just as we are. And dear ones, just take some nice deep breaths in and out. And as I started to call in the angels, I started hearing raindrops on my window. It's raining lightly here as I record this. It's another form of cleansing and clearing. So if you happen to hear raindrops as you make your way through this podcast, just receive the love that comes with each drop of rain as it falls from the clouds up in the sky somewhere, as they descend into this moment with us, reminding us that every moment is a new moment born, and just breathe in the light. And I have no idea when you will be listening to this episode, but I am going to talk about some of the energy that we have been experiencing as I record this. It's been really heavy, and I have been having weird sleep patterns, sleeping very, very deeply, having a really hard time coming out of REM sleep, which is unusual for me. And I can feel that transition and transformation are taking place in the collective. And I mention this even if you're listening to this years later, because we are all surfers when it comes to navigating collective energies. And it is not unusual for us to feel the impact of these waves of energy when they happen. You may think it's just you. You may wonder what's wrong. I've come to learn that I feel these waves deeply, as do many of my friends and people that I work with. So I invite you to take a deep breath in with me, and let's together call ourselves forward into that beautiful divine source energy so that we can rebalance. Even though the energy has felt heavy, it also to me feels profoundly hopeful, which may sound like a dichotomy. But there are the collective energies, and then there are the personal energies. And my sense is many of us who are light workers or light bearers, or whatever phrase you're inclined to use for those of us who have the fervent desire to be of loving service in this world, that each of us, we are also receiving calibrations and attunements that will help us move forward in ways that are meaningful and fulfilling. So if this resonates for you, I affirm this is happening for you too. And you don't need to know what it is. You don't need to figure it out. Just receive it. And this flow, this inspiration will connect with your knowingness. One of the ways this often works for me is I will feel it and sense it just as I am right now, but I don't have a direct knowing of what it is. But then usually within a few days, or at the latest a few weeks, I get a revelation or a spark of inspiration. And it sounds like me. It doesn't sound like God in a booming voice. It sounds like me. But it sounds like a fully realized thought or project or endeavor. It's like, it would be such a cool idea. Fill in the blank with whatever it is. And what's fun is I'm in the middle of one of these experiences right now that I'm not quite ready yet to share with you, but I will soon. But I am in the middle of a really joyful, creative endeavor right now. it flowed to me. And once I'm further along with it, I will share with you how the sparks of inspiration found me and how I followed the whispers and how it's bringing me great joy. I just want to share this energy and this light with you so that you know that it exists. Creation is not just about figuring things out and slogging through the mud and working hard. We can work easy too. We can work joyfully. We can move forward in ways that inspire our hearts. And the angels are so wonderful at helping us do that. So take another breath in, just allowing the angels to shine love upon you, to help you find an easeful, graceful, joyful path forward for you, even if it is just a few steps at a time. You know, I think sometimes we think joy has to be a big, long-lived experience, but joy can come in these sweet, fleeting moments that refill our cups. I get a lot of joy from food. I don't know that that's healthy, but it's true. I can have fleeting joy in a good meal. I can absolutely have fleeting joy connecting with a friend. I can have fleeting joy when a piece of artwork inspires my heart. When I say fleeting, that's not a bad thing, right? It's that something moves me for a few moments and I get to receive goodness and inspiration from it. It's like getting your shot of D vitamins when you're out in the sun, right? There's some sort of internal cosmic reaction when joy is present, even if it is just for a few moments. And I find that focusing on joy in that way sometimes is much more accessible than worrying, notice that word. If I am joyful right now as a sustained note, sustained joy is brilliant when it happens. But it also is not always within our reach. But I do believe that these beautiful fleeting moments of joy, more often than not, are available for us, for our consumption, if you will. So I wish you beautiful fleeting moments of joy. Maybe you'll have some beautiful, joyful dreams as you sleep tonight. Or perhaps you'll have some lovely moments of serendipity tomorrow. You'll get some signs from your angels, or something magical will happen and you'll say, oh, that's what Laurel was talking about. So take a deep breath in, and I affirm that magic is on its way to you now. I affirm that moments of joy are on their way to you now. This purity, this clarity, this cleansing, lovely energy is with you now. Allow yourself to be washed clean of that which is not yours, and come into the beauty of this moment with me and with your angels. And let the love come streaming in. This love that knows you so well. This love that is here to bless you. This love that has gratitude for you and all that you are. Take a deep breath in, allowing your body to receive these blessings as well. I say it that way because more often than not, I do not identify as my body. So when someone says, we are sending you love, I feel like that love is coming to my beingness. And so then I send the love to my body. It sounds weird. I know my body is also receiving it, but I sometimes feel separate from my body, which I don't think is unusual. But we send your body love too, this beautiful instrument of physical matter, of earthly genius that allows your soul to have this incarnation as you. Blessed embodiment. So we'll just breathe together a while longer. You can share your prayers and your concerns and your intentions with your angels, and they receive them from you and carry them gently to the light. And so while the rain gently drops against the window, I invite you to rest and drift off to sleep. And while you do, I'm going to tell you some stories. You know, I wasn't quite sure what story time for this episode was going to be. I had a few ideas, but none of them really gelled at the moment. What I do, the work that I do, is very intuitive. And if it's not feeling in alignment, I typically don't try to push forward. But then as I was in the shower this morning, and I don't know why it is, but the shower is where I tend to get a lot of my divine downloads. It came to me that it was time to share with you the second installment of the Plus Size Diaries. So most of you know I have lived my life in a large-sized body. And it has been my teacher. And it has been my challenge. And now that I'm here at this stage of my life, I'm in a really good place in terms of acceptance and understanding. And I no longer experience this as a sad story. And yet it's one that so many of us have had, and even if you have not been in a large-sized body, you may really resonate with what I share because perhaps something else about you felt different, right? We all have struggles. We all have aspects of ourselves that we think are too much or not enough or that make us different. So I share these installments of the Plus Size Diaries just so you can know a little bit more about my journey, and maybe in my sharing of it, you will find loving companionship as you contemplate your own journey. I find our stories fascinating. You know, I love to hear people's stories about how they got from there to here. And so this is my way of sharing a bit more about my own experiences. And if you're interested in the first installment, it is episode 130. So that's the first installment where I share about my journey with Fen, and then about the bariatric surgery that I had in 2019, the gastric sleeve, which has been a wonderful experience for me. I know not everybody has a great experience with it, but it has absolutely been a blessing for me. But in this installment, we're going to go really far back. We're going to go way back to some of my very first experiences and awarenesses that I had when it came to the size of my body. Perhaps the earliest memory I have was a precognition of sorts. I must have been about 3 years old or 3.5 years old. I remember being in that toddler phase. And I don't have a lot of memories of that time, but the ones that I do feel very important. So in this memory, I was old enough that I could open the bottom drawer of whatever dresser my mom was using at the time. And in that drawer was my favorite dress. I seem to recall it had balloons on it, and I think it's the dress that I'm wearing in one of my favorite pictures with my dad. And I wanted to wear that dress. But you know what had happened? I started growing, as all children do. And I was too big for the dress. At that point, I was still a normal weight baby, and I'm sorry if those are the best words I have for it, but I was not a plus size baby at that point. But I remember trying to get into the dress, and my mom must have said something like, "You're too big for it now." I don't really remember what she said. I just remembered this feeling of betrayal. I laugh because it sounds so dramatic, but I feel like I was thinking, what happened? I don't want to get bigger. I don't want to not fit in my dress. What is happening? It felt like it was something out of my control. And it wasn't good news, is how I felt in my toddler consciousness. And I find that an interesting memory because I would repeat that time and time and time again over the many decades of my life as clothing no longer fit me because I gained weight, or, one of the themes of this lifetime will be growing too big for the spaces I was in. So that's one of my first memories of going through just the normal growing that a toddler goes through, but feeling somehow betrayed by it. My next solid size-related memory has to do with kindergarten. I don't know that I had any body awareness at that time in terms of my size, but in kindergarten, they brought a teeter-totter in, and a teeter-totter is all about the distribution of weight. And I had watched a lot of Bozo's Circus and Ed Sullivan, and I had seen what the acrobats could do with a teeter-totter, and I was enchanted. I wanted to be aerobatic like everybody else. And of course, this was kindergarten, so we were not doing backflips off the teeter-totter, but just the idea that I could be lifted up and then lowered down just seemed enchanting. And so the teacher had to group us by size because you have to be on the teeter-totter with someone of a similar size so that the counterbalance works. And for the most part, it was girls with girls and boys with boys. But I had to go on the teeter-totter with a boy. I was horrified. And that is one of the first awarenesses that I had, that my size was different than the size of other girls. And listen, just also a little editorial here. I've always known I was a girl. I had a strong identity as a girl. And so anyone who says that toddlers and young children do not know their gender identity are crazy. I have always known my identity as a girl, and I imagine that anyone who is trans or non-binary, however they identify, that they have always had a deep knowingness about themselves as well. Just my little 2 cents on that. Because as I have been going back through my memories, one of the things that keeps coming forward is I have always known I was a girl. Not because my mom dressed me in dresses, not because anyone told me. I thought boys were weird, and I was happy I was a girl. So, a little shout out to all of my trans, non-binary, other identifying friends out there. It's so important that we come into deep acceptance and acknowledgement that each individual has a deep, deep knowingness about who they are and how they experience their beingness in this world. So I digress, but it is a worthwhile reminder. So the girl that I was horrified that I had to go on a teeter-totter with a boy and not one of the girls who was my friend. So that's my second awareness. The first was when I outgrew a dress, as all normal children do. We outgrow our clothes. But then the teeter-totter was not normal. I was the only girl who had to go on with a boy. And I don't even know that I was that big at that point. And then, as I got a little bit older, I would have to shop for clothes. My mother would have to shop, would be a better way to say it, in the section for chubby girls, which is a horribly named section. Like, it's already bad enough to be bigger than the other girls, but then to be outed as a chubby girl. I think the only thing worse than that was the husky section for boys. Chubby and husky. Whoever did the branding on these things. So I had to shop in chubby girl sections. And I was growing up in that time of the super hip 60s and 70s. You know, it was big then, hip huggers. I didn't really have hips. I had a stomach. I'm laughing now because I really wanted to be so groovy. And I grew up with the Brady girls, right? Marsha and Jan and Cindy and Lori Partridge. And I wanted to look like them, and I didn't. And if you're ever trying to figure out what age I was at in the age stage of life, I am the same age as Cindy Brady. So whenever you watch the Brady Bunch and you see Cindy, that's how old I was during that period of time. So I knew I was different. And I've shared with you before, I went to Weight Watchers with my mom when I was 7 years old. So already something was different about me. I shared in another episode about apples called Ode to Apples, that one of my earliest memories about apples that my mom shared with me, because my mom and I have had thousands of conversations about my weight and food because it was a puzzle we could never solve. And I once asked my mom what her memory was about my relationship with food when I was little. Like, was I a normal-sized baby? Which I was. But one of the memories she shared with me was that even as a toddler, I always wanted the biggest apple in the bowl. My mom would try to give me a smaller one, and I would yell for the biggest one. So this has always been a part of me. So went to Weight Watchers young, and there's another episode that's percolating that I will record soon about growing up in Skokie and my Skokie memories. And those of you who listen know that I am deeply imprinted with food. All of my memories, most of them anyways, have something to do with food. And this one weaves into both Skokie and the Plus Size Diaries and being an early Weight Watcher adopter. Because as someone who was always on a diet since childhood, or at least food conscious, a tuna fish sandwich typically had very little mayonnaise. You know, mayonnaise was the enemy. It was fattening and it had fat. And my mother would make tuna fish and probably some sort of non-fat. I used non-fat mayonnaise until just a few years ago, and then I gave it up. I still use mayonnaise, but I use the full-fat mayonnaise now. I have decided I'm done with non-fat things. But back then, I'm sure my mother used some form of non-fat, low-fat mayo, and probably just a little bit of it, and chopped up some celery, and that was tuna fish, which was a very dry, unfulfilling tuna fish sandwich. But there were two places in Skokie that served tuna fish that was amazing. One was the local deli, Leon's Delicatessen, and Leon's wife made the best tuna fish. And then the one that is more current in my memories is Kaufman's Deli. Leon's is closed now, but Kaufman's is still open. If you're ever in the Skokie area and you want to taste some of the best tuna fish, go to Kaufman's. But here's the thing. The thing that makes Kaufman's tuna so amazing is, first, the copious amounts of mayonnaise, right? It's like, have a little tuna with your mayo. And sugar, which I still cannot admit to this day. It is sweet tuna fish. And I believe that Leon's wife made sweet tuna fish as well. So I'm alternately fascinated and horrified about sugar in tuna, but of course that tuna was phenomenal. Mayo, sugar, with some fish. Like, what's not to, you might not even like the fish part, right? But sweet mayonnaise, what's not to love? And here I was, the little Weight Watchers girl, with like a tablespoon of non-fat mayo on some tuna with diet bread, right? Not even good bread. No wonder I grew up with food issues. So my sad tuna fish story that was later reclaimed by amazing deli tuna somehow fits into the Plus Size Diaries. And to this day, I dream of Kaufman's tuna, but I cannot bring myself to put sugar into my own tuna fish salad, so I never make it. Anyways, that was just a little side story for you. The big thing I want to talk about in this installment of the Plus Size Diaries is when I was 14 years old. 14 or 15, somewhere around there. I was in high school. All the rage was this liquid protein diet. I don't know if any of you remember this. This doctor had come out with this best-selling book, and he insisted that all you needed to lose weight was to drink these like little shot glasses of something that tasted like cough medicine that had all of the metabolized protein that you needed. And then you didn't eat it. You didn't eat anything. So basically a starvation diet. But it was all the rage. Everybody was doing it. And people were losing weight. Of course they're starving, right? Of course they're losing weight. But this was a medically researched program. You were supposed to do it through your doctor, so it had to be good. And I watched a lot of the afternoon talk shows. If you listen to the TV episodes, Mike Douglas and Dinah Shore, right? The internet didn't exist then. We got our information from newspapers and talk shows, things like that. So here's what I remember. Valerie Harper, who played Rhoda, who was always talked about as being the fat friend as compared to Mary Tyler Moore, who was beautiful, but Valerie Harper was a beautiful woman who was not heavy. Like, talk about messing with our heads, right? But she had lost a lot of weight recently. And she was talking about on Dinah Shore or one of those shows or in a woman's magazine that she had done this liquid protein diet. And here's what I remember she said. She said that when she used to drive to the studio to film, she used to be able to hold a bottle of nail polish between her thighs, and she would do her nails while she was in traffic. But now that she had lost all of this weight, she had a thigh gap. I don't know that she called it that because we weren't talking about thigh gaps back then, but she couldn't do that anymore. And in my young, impressionable mind, that was gold. And I realized I had never had a thigh gap, and perhaps I could get one by going on this diet, the ever-elusive thigh gap. The things we do, right? Now, no one wanted to put me on this diet, and I don't want to say that they were being wise. They just, it's a thing, you don't need to do that, and I begged everyone. And I am a stubborn Taurus girl, and I'm relentless when there is something that I want. So I begged. I showed magazine articles to my mother, and I went to see our doctor, who was this man in his 70s, right? He'd seen it all, and he wasn't eager to put me on this program. He didn't know anything about it. And then it must have been within a month that somehow this program got opened up at his clinic, probably because every woman in Skokie was asking to be put on this program. What did we know? So I got approved for the program. And I had to go in and get weighed every week, and they would do blood work and urine analysis. But basically, the liquid protein diet was this like NyQuil-sized cup of this cherry-flavored liquid protein, which was terrible. And nothing else. You had that 3 or 4 times a day. I think it was about 500 calories. And no food. Like, how's that for a solution? That's a good idea, especially in a 14 or 15-year-old developing body. Let's just starve her. It'll be fine. She's got plenty to work from. Not that anyone really thought that. We didn't know these things back then. We really didn't. And so I went on it. And here's the other thing that I remember. My art teacher, she'd also gone on it. So we would take our lunch hours together, and we would sit in her art room, not eating, talking about how we were not eating, and drink our shot glasses of liquid protein together, and talk about how much we missed food, but also compare how much weight we were losing. It was crazy. And of course I lost weight. Hooray. A solution for obesity is just don't ever eat again. Sorry, I don't mean to take on a dark tone. It's interesting reflecting on this because now I see how crazy this was. But back then it didn't seem crazy. Do you ever have these parts of your life where you look back and you think, what were we thinking? And it's not as if anyone was advocating for me to go on this. I drove this. I was relentless. I didn't let anyone give me no for an answer. Like, listen, Valerie Harper can no longer hold a bottle of nail polish between her thighs. This is my answer too. Oh my God, it was a horrible thing to put my body through. Now I see that. But then I just had this hope, because the other thing I didn't know at that point was about set point biology and rebound and what would happen once I started eating again. I thought once I got down to the weight that I wanted to be at, then I could just start eating and I would be fine, because what messed me up in my head was other thin people ate this way and were thin. So I did not know that my body had a different relationship to metabolism and food than other bodies. I thought I just had to get out of the chubby girl section and then I would be normal and I could eat whatever I wanted the way other people ate whatever they wanted, and I would be fine. God bless my heart. I did not know this was never going to be the case for me. So, on the liquid protein diet, and at some point I came off it. I don't have any big story for you about how I came off it. But one day I was done. I perhaps started eating food somewhere along the way, because of course I did. I had to. And then I don't know if any of you have ever heard about set point biology, and I know for any of you who have ever experienced the roller coaster of obesity, what is the rule of what happens when you lose weight and then you stop facilitating weight loss? Well, for most of us, I don't want to affirm this is ever going to happen for you. I will speak for myself. The weight comes back on. Only, it doesn't just come back to where you started. Oh no. I would get more. It's like escaping jail. Wait. You think you're leaving? Oh no. Let's add another 10 for your escape attempt. And so I went from feeling so good in my body and feeling normal, that ever elusive normality, whatever that is, to immediately gaining weight because I had messed up my metabolism. Right? I look back now and I think, what would have happened to me had I never gone on that program? I would have probably grown out a little bit more of the experience I was having, but there is no doubt in my mind that having gone on the liquid protein program at that young age only exacerbated whatever metabolic challenges that I inherently had already. So I gained weight quickly. And that would sort of be my experience for the rest of my life. There would be times when I would be able to lose weight, and sometimes I could keep it off for a period of time, and then at some point it would come back on. It's really hard on the psyche. It really messed me up for I'm saying really a lot. It messed me up for a long, long time. Most of my life, in fact. Because this thing that was so easy for so many people was elusive for me. I understand it so much better now. I have such empathy for my experiences. I love this body. I understand more. And I'll share with you one of the moments that I understood this for perhaps the first time ever. There's a wonderful podcast called the Weight Loss Surgery Podcast by Rieger Cortell. She's no longer recording new episodes, but I believe the old episodes are still available. And she works with a weight loss surgery center in Oregon, so that tends to be a topic of conversation. But she has an interview with the scientist. His name is Randy Seeley, and he does research about obesity and metabolism. And he talks about the set point theory, and that our bodies manage our weight. And there's a set point, just like the part of our bodies that know what temperature our body should be at or what our blood pressure should be. And when we try to change the set point through dieting, we can do it for a period of time, but then the system starts sending messages to eat and to slow down our metabolism. And I'm doing a terrible job of explaining it. But I remember listening to that episode. I was on a plane ride and I was just tearing up because I thought, oh my God, this is what has been happening to me for 50 years. This is my experience. Everything he was talking about, he described me. And since then, I've learned so much more, and now there are these new medications, Wegovy and Trulicity, coming out, and it's understood that weight issues are not about personal failure. It's not a personal choice. It's complicated. And God willing, we should not feel shame around it. These bodies that we're in are complex, and if you think about it from an anthropological, societal perspective, how much food in our lives has changed in the past 150 years, right? And so our species is adapting. So these days, more often than not, I have a sense of humor about this. I love myself. I do the best I can each day. I'm not perfect. My weight goes up, it goes down a little bit. Sorry, I'm pausing because I heard a siren. I'm hoping you can't hear that. And the rain, there's like all these different noises happening. I hope it's still feeling sleepy enough for you. So now, here I am. 60 years old, about to be 61, and finally I am at peace with my body. Not because I'm thin, right? But because I understand. I understand this is my body, and this is my sanctuary, this is my temple. This is what allows me to be present on planet Earth, talking into this microphone, loving on you right now. So I've made peace with this. I love this body, and I understand my body in a way I never did before. So that's this installment of the Plus Size Diaries. Sweet tuna fish with lots of mayo. Outgrowing my favorite dress as a toddler. The teeter-totter debacle of kindergarten. and the liquid protein diet that now falls into the category of what were we thinking? I say what were we thinking because there were a lot of us that bought into that wisdom. And we still do from time to time, right? So, wherever you are in your body, let's just send some extra love to your body. Like whatever your thing is with your body, let's just send some extra love from the angels to your body. So breathe in, sending love to every cell of your body, every experience you have had. And just breathe and let the love come in. Perfect timing because the birds are just starting to sing. Can you hear them? The birds celebrate you and your arrival to this beautiful moment of your beingness. The rain is cleansing away the old stories, the sad stories we no longer need to embody, and sending light across all dimensions of time, right? Like angels are in that kindergarten class with me as a kindergartner right now, right? We're infusing our timelines with light and with love, with forgiveness and with compassion. The light ripples through all dimensions of time, and the healing is present now. So take a deep breath in with me, allowing yourself to be present at this moment, this beautiful moment, knowing that you are loved and appreciated. Thanking every moment of the past that has brought you here now, and releasing that which you no longer wish to carry. And so, my beautiful friends, thank you for allowing me the blessing of sharing a part of my heart with you. And I look forward to being together again soon. I love you very much, and I wish you the sweetest of dreams. Thank you.